Oh, pardon me. Now, a good evening. It is evening. Night has fallen. It was a bit difficult for me today. I've managed to calm down. So now, what I want and I feel need to let you know. So let's get some visual here. There we are. Now, I don't know. I'm doing this very amateur. This may, when I upload it to YouTube, appear sideways. Great apologies for that. Probably if you've got any device like I've owned, there's very little way you can put it up right. So well, it's the words that matter, not my hand movements or my facial expressions. It's the words that matter. So if it being sideways, which it may be, just don't look at the video and just listen to the words. That would be my suggestion. Now, what I want to tell you, and I don't want to do this as a speech to a large audience in sort of like a soapbox setting, although I do those speeches quite often on religion, politics, spiritualities, and etc. But on this one, I want it to be an online broadcast. Now, this is about why I tend to be careful when I do a lot of things. And especially why I make sure I'm careful with my body movements. And that well-known psychological theory, which, come on, look, it's more than a theory, isn't it? It's fact. It's fact. It's truth. It's fact. Body language. That's why online communication doesn't work, because body language, okay, maybe video to video, FaceTime, etc. But body language is vital to communication. I find it difficult on the telephone, unless I'm with someone who really understands someone says something, then shuts up, and someone says something, and if someone tries to add something, then you shut up and let them add. I find telephone conversation extremely difficult because I can't see the body language. And that's why face-to-face is so important. There's more to it than that. But I've learnt to control my body language. I was taught, actually, because I used to have a drink problem. I don't now, even though I still drink alcohol. I was actually taught in a community rehabilitation program how you can't lie with your body language. Now, this might be a bit of a giveaway, but I've actually learnt to control my body so much. Actually, sometimes, not always, you have to be very controlled. I can lie through my body language. I don't call that lying. I just call that controlling my body. And whatever people pick up from that, really, that's their issue, not mine. But I've learnt to control myself, so people can't always pick up with my body language, which makes me very good at doing work against what I'm about to tell you. Now, there is a system in play where people, very powerful people, high up governmental, deep state governmental, secret service governmental, etc., watch these body languages, the movements people make, how they walk down the street, which shops they go into, how long they take before going into the shop, whether they're actually doing anything or just hanging around loosely before going into the shop, or whether they stop and think or turn back, or you get the drift. And why do they do this? Well, this is all to do with artificial intelligence. This is a very modern thing. Every major town or city in at least the Western world, and certainly in major cities in places like China and other totalitarian states, have an awful lot of this CCTV monitoring, which is all hooked up to the supercomputers of these governmental organizations, as well as the numerous tech companies in Silicon Valley and elsewhere. In addition, the smartphones, laptops, etc., as well as cash points, which all have CCTV, use all this and put it all together. And then through a really complicated computer program, which we simplified with the word algorithm, they come up with numerous methods of deciding how best, they decide how best to persuade us, the viewed ones, the watched ones by these watching computers, to do what they want us to do. So we see most of this is to do with computer devices, but it does this data which all these CCTV cameras are gathering, monitoring, number crunching through these algorithms. Not only do they decide which adverts are going to pop up on your YouTube video viewing, or which adverts you may view on your on the websites that use, like DoubleClick by Google or other advertising companies that place adverts on websites. The sponsored ads. You get your search results on Google or DuckDuckGo or Yahoo or whatever, and you get the sponsored advert. That's all dictated by the video footage from the cameras on your smartphones and laptops, through all the CCTV footage watching you as you walk down the street, going into shops. Because it's all linked. This is the smart internet. This is the intelligent internet, the smart internet, where it's all connected to each other. And they all talk to each other. And they decide what adverts, or sometimes for things such as like Pocket or other apps, what newspaper articles to suggest to you that you read. This is called mind programming. Now, the ultimate purpose of this, well, look, the Western world is about money, isn't it? I mean, there's no argument, is there? You can't live without money. It's not as if you can. It's not as if you can buy a field very cheaply and grow your own food very cheaply without any regulation. No, the modern world is modern, postmodern, whatever, is all about the cash. However you define cash. I mean, it really is just noughts and ones on the computer, but it's all about the money. And what these algorithms, these artificial intelligence advertising and number crunching systems are doing is looking at how you behave, your body language, your movements down the street, what you buy, because it's all registered on your debit credit card or your Google Pay or Apple Pay. It's all registered It all goes through to central computer up there, great big box up there somewhere in America, and then it's number crunched, and then that is sent pretty swiftly to every app, every advertising company, every graphic designing company of major like Saatchi and Saatchi, and also things. I mean, locally, the bus stops are advertised by a company called Clear Channel. They get their data from this big CCTV number crunching thing based in America, and it's called mind programming, to get you, to quote a singer of mine, to think less and spend more. We used to call it hypnosis or mesmerizing people. They're hypnotizing the whole of society into buying. They don't care what you buy. It doesn't matter what product you buy. There are only about 3 companies that own every brand of food in the entire world. 3 companies own. Own. Outright. One way or another. The stock markets, all these stocks and shares, all these investments. When you get down to the basic ownership of where all the control is and where all the money is going to, there are only 3 companies, and they own every brand in the shops. There are very few exceptions of the true independents. All the major brands, all the major chain stores, all the major supermarkets, doesn't matter. There are only 3 companies that sell food. And all of them are based in America. Multinational, yes, so they don't fully come under American government control, but all of them, all their money is going to America. But there's something more important, not more important. This really only involves a select few. I included myself in that, so a select few. I know this is done to me. So I'm even careful when I'm on my own, even though there's no CCTV in here. I've got the camera covered on my smartphone usually. There's no camera. There may be a drone outside sometimes. That could happen to anyone. They're quite common now. But there's another way people can view you. And this is far less known. You may think this is weird. Indeed, yes, it is. And this was developed. Oh, well, no, it is an ancient craft. I call it a craft, not a skill or an art or a science. It's a craft. It's part of witchcraft. It's called remote viewing. There is a way for certain individuals, if they have sufficient skill, discipline, and know-how into the way the body, soul, spirit interacts, can actually manage to get their soul to leave the body and travel around. And there are stories of people who have indeed done this. The soul has left the body, still attached to the body. Even the Bible talks about the silver cord, and people who have had near-death experiences and out-of-the-body experiences or astral projection often occurs to people who almost die, but somehow the doctors bring them back to life. So this is a silver cord that, if the silver cord is cut, well, you're dead. But as long as the silver cord is intact, you can come back into your body, wake up, and there you are. You still remember your entire astral projection. There are stories of people travelling around the world through these astral projections very swiftly. In the matter of half an hour, 15 minutes. Because space and time, when you're out of the physical realm And in the soul realm, there's a different story. But what happened under the Third Reich in Nazi Germany under Hitler was Nazi Germany learnt, indeed actively researched, long before they took over in 1933. I think it was 1933 they took over, even though the war didn't start till 1939. I think they took over Germany in 1933. They employed dark mages, which a mage is not the same as a witch, but similar. So let's simplify. They employed black witches who used this astral projection, highly skilled, they were in this, to go into the bedrooms, lounges, attics. Remember, in Nazi Germany, most Jews hid in attics because they would be killed otherwise, and looked. Now, obviously, they were out of the body, so they can take notes, take recordings, but when they got back in their body, quickly wake up, jot down everything they saw, send off to their bosses in the Third Reich. And that happens now. I'm not necessarily accusing the government of doing this in Great Britain, but they may be. There are certainly some very dark entities, humans and other, what shall we say, races. I believe in extraterrestrials, as you know, if you follow my channel, who use this method to spy on people. And unless you're really sensitive in the magical arts and crafts, and I'm not sensitive enough to know whether they're here or not, most of the time, sometimes I can sense it, but not most of the time. But I'm always on my guard, because I know I'm a target for this. And so they can actually view. And what happens, even if we're not talking politics or government, we're just talking witchery, these dark mages, these black witches, can use that information they gain through this remote viewing, through astral projection, against the other witch. There's a lot of warfare in pagan witchcraft. One witch clan, or coven, okay, it's another witch coven. It's not a united group of very friendly people, like the Magic Circle with Paul Daniels. That's conjuring, not magic. There's a lot of very nasty stuff in witchcraft. And if you practice magic at all, and I do, there's going to be a comeback. And part of that comeback is the attacks, not in any physical way, purely magical and spiritual, against those who maybe practice grey or white magic. Please, I would beg thee, do not go anywhere near black magic. We do know, don't we? Where was it? I forget the name of where it was. I forget the name of the city. Somewhere way up north. There were these huge accusations, primarily by social services, of a whole load of parents slicing up their children, slashing them, bleeding them, and then eventually killing them and doing things to the bodies and bones. That was exposed as a complete fabrication by social services, which everyone in my generation absolutely despises social workers since that, because so many children were taken away from parents for no reason whatsoever, and those children ended up very screwed up, and the parents are probably still grieving, trying to pick up the remains of their broken children's lives. But even though that, Huddersfield, that's where it was, even though that incidents was purely fictional and completely over the top on the part of social services. That was, but the papers reported on that. But so many times there are these black witches doing human sacrifice, child sacrifice, child sex sacrifice. There are a couple of locations near my town, one called Paradise Drive, the other called Butts Brown. I don't think they perform there anymore. But the Black Witches often, especially on Samhain, Halloween, or other major witches of bats, would kidnap a child, a vulnerable adult, or a homeless person, take them up to these locations, and ritually slaughter them after whatever. I haven't fully researched into it. I really don't want to. But it was well known. They were human sacrifice sites. If you went up there early, I mean, when I say early, I mean in a few days after Samhain, Halloween, you could see the remains of the fire pits and the various stones and sticks set in certain ways. And if you knew what to look for, yep, there we go. They'd caught a new child or a new homeless person. We all knew about it locally. So don't get involved in black magic. Just don't. I have nothing against Harry Potter, white magic, and it's a bit dodgy, but grey magic. Okay, just be careful. Tarot, well, read my blog. I've got my views on tarot. But if you know what you're doing, know how to take the precautions, know not to get twisted with it, maybe. But yeah, this remote viewing. People are watching. You may think you're alone. You may think no one's seeing, you'll get away with whatever you want to. But that's not true. That's just not true. Be careful. Be careful. There are people watching you 24/7. 24/7. There is someone seeing everything you do. Be careful.